We're going to talk now about fake marijuana. It's often sold in an incense with a brand name like K2.
And I woke up in the airport in Seattle. I was handcuffed to a wheelchair. Security was walking me down the hall, asking me what drugs I was on, and I was like, what are you talking about, man? Like, I'm just super tired.
K2. It is a blend of herbs and plants sprayed with chemicals.
Like, I'm not on drugs. And they said, sir, you tried to get off the plane mid-flight.
Two more teens are hospitalized from using K2, causing another Texas city to decide to ban the marijuana substitute.
What is spice like? Spice is a synthetic marijuana. So basically, the doctors thought that they had found a way to create a synthetic marijuana that would stimulate the centers of your brain that target pain, so they could decrease pain without getting people intoxicated. But basically, it's like incense that you smoke, and you never really know what chemicals they spray on the leaves, and you never really know what the high is going to be like.
Damn, these niggas out here drugged up already.
So it's kind of like, it felt kind of like marijuana. The only reason that I used so much of it was that when it first came out in the Army, they couldn't test for it. So we'd get high all day long while in the Army, like in our barracks rooms, in the cars. We used to call it going to Jurassic Park because we'd go walk around in the trees and get super high and like listen to the birds. But it's really dangerous stuff because it's not, it's 100% man-made, and you never know what chemicals are going to be on top of it. But what did my using look like? So I was married while in the military, and when you go to basic training, you get like, I don't know, $4,000 or $5,000 because you're away on training for 90 or 120 days. And for someone that's never had $1,000, $4,000 or $5,000 is a lot. So my brain decided it would be intelligent to buy a motorcycle. So I bought a motorcycle, and my wife at the time was pissed that I spent like all of my money on this shiny motorcycle. So the deal was, if you want to stay married to me, you need to ride your motorcycle to Washington State from North Carolina and drop off your motorcycle with me. I will sell it, and then we can stay married. So I had a 4-day weekend coming up, and I thought that was a brilliant idea. I would ride my motorcycle 3,000 miles. So I bought a bunch of spice, and I bought a little bit of food. I charged my cell phone. We had a 4-day weekend, so I left Thursday afternoon, and I got on my bike. It was brand new. It still had a paper license plate, and I took off as fast as I could across the country. I averaged like 150 to 170 miles an hour. My paper license plate tore off on day one, so I was riding without a license plate. And my cell phone kept dying, which was my only map. So I would ride, I'd smoke some spice, get really high, and then I would go until my phone died, and then I'd stop at a gas station and I'd charge my phone, try to look at the map again, and then continue riding. At the end of day 2, I started hallucinating because I'd been up for so long and I was smoking spice. So I remember at one point I stopped, and I was like standing next to a guardrail, and there was like this 6-year-old kid that was like, dude, I really want to ride your bike. And I'm like, yeah, that's sweet, man, like hop on with me. And I like snapped out of it and realized that it was all a hallucination, like there was no child there with me. And so I just continued to go as fast as I could. I had a 1 liter water bottle full of gasoline that started leaking, so I was like huffing gasoline fumes with smoking spice. And I got into, I remember night like 3. I woke up at one point while riding my motorcycle. I'd fallen asleep, and I was on a 2-lane highway in Montana, and I just remember seeing headlights coming at me. And I wake up and I lay my bike over as hard as I can, somehow save it, and like get up and just smack myself in the head trying to wake myself up because I couldn't stop. I had to get there, and I had to continue. And so I kept riding. I woke up at one point riding off the road through the grass and the dirt, and somehow this whole time stayed on top of the motorcycle. I don't know how. I truly should not be alive. So my bike ended up breaking down. One of the pieces broke, and I brought it to a motorcycle shop in Billings, Montana, and met the coolest guy there that brought me to his house for a barbecue. But I remember standing in his shop, and there was this helmet rack, and I was talking to one of my buddies about the helmets, and he's like, dude, I want to get one of these. And I'm like, yeah, you should. And I realized I was talking to the helmet rack. Like, my friend wasn't there. I wasn't talking to anyone else. So I go to this barbecue with this motorcycle maintenance technician that I had met, which was pretty sweet. They had a bunch of ribs, and I hadn't eaten in like 4 days, and I still hadn't slept. And so he is willing to drop me off at the airport. So I take a flight from Billings, Montana to Seattle, Washington, so that I can finally get home to my ex-wife. Mind you, it's like Sunday morning right now, and I have to be at work Monday morning on the other side of the country. But I didn't even think about that. So I go to the airport, and I'm sitting next to some, I don't remember, like mid-40s lady, and we're talking about Tiger Woods. He was on TV when he was still playing well, and I had 2 beers. And I black out, like I always do, because I'd been up for so long. 2 beers was enough to put me over. And I woke up in the airport in Seattle. I was handcuffed to a wheelchair. Security was walking me down the hall, asking me what drugs I was on, and I was like, what are you talking about, man? Like, I'm just super tired. Like, I'm not on drugs. And they said, sir, you tried to get off the plane mid-flight. And I believed them. I don't know to this day what happened on that flight.
Opens up so many doors to ugliness in your life. If it doesn't lead to incarceration, it'll lead to death.